In light of and in the backdrop of the ongoing protests taking place at Addington Primary School in KwaZulu-Natal, the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwarube, has revealed that 253,680 foreign pupils and 3,240 foreign teachers were enrolled in South Africa's state school sector in 2025. The data was released in a written parliamentary response to a question from IFP MP Liezl from Merwe amid mounting concerns regarding the pressure placed on state schools to accommodate both local and foreign pupils. Let's unpack this further now with the spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education, Terence, Khala. Terence, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. I understand that the final enrollment figures have to be consolidated, especially given, of course, the last week and a half with a lot of provinces and schools struggling with placement issues. But what is the official number of the total number of learners enrolled in the South African public schooling sector, to place in context, of course, the number of foreign pupils enrolled?
Thank you very much, Oliver, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to speak to you this evening. In total, we have more than 13.7 million learners in our basic education system, and I think what you lead with is that question of saying, in greater context, how big is the number of foreign pupils or foreign learners within the system? It equates to about between 1.8 and 2% of the entire learner population.
Yeah, and that's a staggering number. So why do we have the sort of flare-ups that we see in KwaZulu-Natal with Addington Primary School with the March and March movement? We've seen the same flare-ups in parts of Gauteng with Operation Dudula, asking for the same sort of consideration, that there must be consideration for the placement of South African pupils before that of foreign nationals.
Oliver, once again, thank you so much. I think we need to look at this in the context of the broader basic education system. And when we look at it, as mentioned, those 13.7 million learners that are in the system, and really the call that has been made and the responsibility that's been placed on the basic education sector to ensure that every child within the borders of South Africa has an opportunity to access education. And that does include some of our immigrants and asylum seekers. And what's important for us to do is to place into greater context, as we've done in the opening of this interview, the numbers that really are behind this. So we don't look at this under the guise of isolated incidents or perhaps maybe emotionally charged situations. And we look at it from a point of a factual basis that can really give us an opportunity to reflect adequately and to reaffirm rather that message that says the basic education sector is committed to ensuring that every child within the borders of South Africa has access to a school and has access to a quality education.
Well, Terence, that's the principle, and I think we can accept the principle. Why then do we very specifically see the flare-ups where on the ground what we hear is from parents that the schools specifically prioritize the learners of foreign national parents over the learners of South African citizens?
Look, I mean, we think that it's unfortunate that the incidents of Addington Primary School have been reflected in the way that they have. I mean, the understanding that we have through the province, who is obviously leading the admission process, is to ensure that the province has supported the school diligently to make sure that the school follows policy and follows procedures and doesn't choose favor of any nationality over another. And that's what's important for us to emphasize here. What we can also add with regards to the matter of Addington is that we have seen some parents that have received placement at other schools, but unfortunately they have chosen Addington as the first preference. And we want to just encourage parents to be able to work with us and support us as we continue this process.
Can I pause you there, Terence? Very specifically, and when we spoke to the March and March movement here on SABC News a few days ago, Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma, and specifically, the argument there was that this is an inconvenience to parents. Parents came and complained that the schools they've been placed in is so far away that they actually can't afford for their children to commute to those schools. And on top of that, is that they're being placed in schools where they have to pay fees higher than what they ordinarily would have been paying in Addington. What's the department's response to that?
Look, I mean, I'll go back to the opening point, which indicates that we need to work together to make sure that we can allow all learners to be placed. I think provinces and district circuits are available for parents to be able to raise their grievances. But what we can't do is see the incidents that have been flaring up outside schools, traumatizing young learners, and unfortunately creating situations that are untenable outside the school. What's important to note, Oliver, is that the department remains steadfast in its commitment to making sure that every child has a space. And we will work with those parents. We commit to work with the parents and to make sure that we place learners adequately and make sure that we can support parents where challenges are raised about the alternative schools that have been provided. But what we do need to do is allow for teaching and learning to take place and make sure that we can support each other. Basic education is a societal issue. Every child is a national asset, and we need to make sure that as a basic education sector and as parents, SGBs and school communities, we really support each other to make sure that our schools are safe for every learner to be able to attend, every child within the confines and the border of South Africa.
Again, Terence, you're once again just stating the principle, and I think we can all accept the principle. It's constitutionally enshrined. No one's contesting that. What perhaps is contested by parents are the facts on the ground. The fact that some of the parents are raising in Addington is that they've been placed in schools that are too far away for them to be able to reasonably expect their children to commute to those schools. Perhaps let's get the facts around Addington. How many of the learners placed in that school are foreign nationals? And on top of that, the learners that were then redirected to other schools, what are those numbers? And what arrangements are being made to address the complaints of the parents that they're being placed in schools that are way too far?
Oliver, what I can confirm in our engagements with the province is that all learners have been placed, even those that needed to be at Addington. Unfortunately, at this stage, I do not have the exact figure for you in terms of extrapolating the numbers between the foreign nationals and the South African nationals. But what I will do is be able to make sure that in a follow-up conversation, we can take that on. But what we can commit is that there is no favor, there's no opportunity that is given over any other nationality. What's important is that these children are children that are within the borders of South Africa. These children are children that we are constitutionally mandated to ensure that we look after. We do go back to the court case in 2019 in the Bishu High Court, which did mandate us as a basic education sector to be able to take learners on. So whether the learners are of foreign descent or not is beside the issue at this point. We need to make sure that we can support all learners, and we do stand with parents to make sure that we can support them. As mentioned, where there are challenges of issues of distance, we need to be able to raise these adequately through the channels that have been provided so that those channels and mechanisms can be able to kick in to support those parents to make sure that we can get these children to school.
Yeah. Just maybe lastly to explore here is around what the number is slightly less than 2% of the total number of learners enrolled in schools happen to be foreign nationals. Do you have an idea of how many of them are in fee-paying schools, or non-fee-paying schools? I mean, we could break them up in the quantiles, but that wouldn't be necessary, just maybe a split of that.
Look, I mean, it wouldn't be that detailed a breakdown. I think what we can give you are perhaps maybe some of the higher density provinces that we see are some of our foreign learners coming in. We see Gauteng with just over 139,000 rather foreign learners, and then the Western Cape being another high one with around 59,000. But I think what's important to note is that breakdown of the immigrants and asylum seekers. We have around 22,000 asylum seekers, and I think it's important for us to also contextualize that these are people that have left their homes in search of better opportunities, but also making sure that we can really, as mentioned, support all people to make sure that we can get every child in South Africa that quality basic education.
Yeah, Terence, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Terence Khala is the spokesperson of the Department of Basic Education.